King of the Pit Media, what's good? I've got some controversial opinions, potentially offensive opinions, if you were that way inclined. I asked over on the reaction channel for a little bit of input so we can have a discussion, and I got a few cool insights here. So the first and foremost, and you're gonna have to engage with me over this one, people. You're gonna have to give me a word on this one, because there are some blind spots, and I'm gonna start off with a blind spot here. Buffalo Gaming says Uno is a top 5 Green Day album. All right, what do you think to that? I've not even got around to listening to Uno, so I don't know. But my Green Day experience has shown me that there are highs and lows in this discography, which I thought Green Day would just sort of be a, paint by numbers, A-B, everything is the same. We've got a formula, we stick to it. That's all we need. That's what I initially expected from Green Day, but I've enjoyed the development, and I've enjoyed the conceptual approach to the writing of each and every one of these records. Whether I liked it or not, I like a band that has a little bit of variation. So I've not listened to Uno yet. So you're going to have to give me a heads up if that's worth listening to. But if that's a controversial opinion, I suppose it must be, because it's not been an album that's been recommended to me. It's not been an album I've seen referenced. So there you go. Moving onwards, Eliza, perhaps Elisa, Rodriguez says, Metallica's Black Album is as good as earlier albums. Now here we go, another blind spot, but I've got some things to say. I stopped listening to Metallica when I was younger, after And Justice for All. I didn't get to the Black Album, but I did listen to Death Magnetic when that came out. I think that was 2008 that came out. Am I right? I've heard the hit songs off of the Black Album, or should I say, I've heard the hit riffs. And I agree with what Eliza is saying. Purely based on the quality and the sound of what I've heard from the material I've heard off of that record. Now, I think it is a sign of the times. We're in the 90s now. We're more emphasized on music video, heavy hitting, stadium rocking anthems. First thing that comes into my mind is Sad But True. Would you say that was like let's have a look at the track listing on Black Album and see what I know for it. But yeah, I definitely think post And Justice for All, not purely based on my personal opinion, because that's where I stopped, but I guess there's a slight bias there, but I do think Metallica stopped being cool in the 80s. I think they started to sell out in a very good way, in a very marketable way, in a very sensical way from there on. To this day, Metallica are larger than life, right? So let's have a quick dig. Fascinating, because in the popular releases on Spotify, we've got the remastered Dulux box set of Black Album, which is the most popular release. Then we've got Master of Puppets. Then we've got the Black Album again, but not the remaster. So isn't that insane? I mean, we might have just caught it at the right time where they put out, well, it says 2021 here, but Enter Sandman is on this record, which is funny because I said Pantera. I was doing a listen through to Pantera, and I said that Pantera's Walk was the Wonderwall of metal, and somebody says, nah, it's Enter Sandman. And I thought, you know what, that's a fair point. That is a fair point. Then we got Sad But True, second number. We got the Unforgiven on here. I'm not too big on the ballads of Metallica. Wherever I May Roam, heavy as hell. Don't Tread on Me is an interesting title, purely based on the fact prior to this video, I was doing a video on the Cro-Mags album, The Age of Quarrel, and they got a number on there called Don't Tread on Me right? And obviously, Cro-Mags and Metallica will have played with each other back in the day. I think I've seen them on a bill together. Nothing Else Matters is on this record. Yeah. The record is full of hits, because for them to reach my ears, having not listened to the album, it's self-explanatory if I'm reeling off songs on this album based purely on the fact I know them by song titles. So yeah, you know what? As much as it might be a little bit of a controversial opinion, I don't disagree with what you're saying, and I can say that without having actually consumed the album in entirety. Moving onwards, Posy Steve says, Mastodon and Gojira are overrated bigly. I'm sure a lot of people have some things to say about that. Now, through my experience being engaged in metal and punk music, I've never really come across anyone who's been a big fan of Mastodon. And my experience listening to Mastodon has been... it's not been overwhelming. You know, it's not been the most exciting experience. I'm not very well versed in the band though, and I don't know to which degree here or there they span as far as their sound and magic is concerned. Gojira, on the other hand, this is a controversial one, because Gojira are pretty good. They are pretty good. The Reaction channel essentially was built upon me doing single Gojira songs. People recommended, do the Gojira one, do this Gojira live at this, and I was just sort of bouncing from video to video, and people getting excited, and Gojira videos get a couple of views. There's definitely a fan base. So as far as overrated, there is a genuine market for the band. So whether that's considered overrated or not, I don't know. As far as them being the heaviest band, I think once or twice on each and every record, they sort of do what Pantera do. They just add something ridiculous. They add a ridiculous, crushing moment. I think across the board, they're not like as heavy as people make out to be. But when they want to be heavy, they are pretty phenomenal. I think they're a unique band. I think they're very unique. I think they go as heavy as can be while still remaining quite palatable and not necessarily extreme, you know? They're melodic in a sense. I think the drummer brings a lot to the table to the band's sound, and as far as, you know, discussing if they're overrated, I think the drummer's jazz-esque approach to performance with the band and the steadier and tighter and less expansive, airy crashing of cymbals and noise, I think that adds an element to the band that we don't see very often in metal music, and arguably might be the most important component of Gojira. But yeah, I can't comment too heavy on Mastodon. I've not really come across much overrates regarding Mastodon, but obviously, you know, if you think they deserve a bit of a lesser position in the framework of what we acknowledge in metal, yeah, that makes sense. But Gojira, you know, I think it's open for interpretation. Yeah. Moving on to the last one we've got for this video in the controversial music opinions, we've got a classic. My granddad wouldn't like you saying this one. Christopher McConnell says, the Beatles suck. It's a bold statement. It's a very bold statement. I've tried to listen to the Beatles because I like songwriting, and it's like, if you like songwriting, how can you not delve into a bit of Lennon McCartney writing and try to appreciate it for what it is? Oasis are my favourite band, and obviously people just say, they've just nicked this, that and the third from the Beatles. When I listen to the Beatles, yeah, I hear where Oasis have quite literally stolen elements and ideas with intention, but the Beatles aren't rock and roll. And you can talk about Helter Skelter, and you can talk about, you know, the band is rock and roll in essence, but it's not like punk rock and roll energy, you know, without the punk music, which is rock and roll, right? It's not antisocial in any realms. It's quite friendly. The Beatles suck, though, is crazy. I don't know where we can go with a discussion on this one. That's a sort of statement that isn't going to raise discussion. You could create a civil war with that statement. If you got all of the people who supported that, and you got all of the people who didn't support that, and you had them meet and engage over that, I think you could create the destruction of a country, personally. Just down to the severity of what the Beatles were, what they are, and what they influenced. I got friends who... The moment... If you've got a friend who's into alternate music, if that friend has got a bit more of an open mind relative to your other friends in your social group, that friend likes the Beatles. There's an archetype of person who likes the Beatles, who are of the younger, musically inclined fanatic. There is an archetype, and yeah, what more needs to be said on that? As far as my experience with the Beatles, I don't listen to them by choice. There's not really any Beatles material I care about, which is blasphemous in music discussion, but I'm open for interpretation. And the thing is, I tried to get into the act, such as the Rolling Stones, and what I put forward was, what album's the best? What album should I start with? Blah, 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 blah. And everyone's got a different album. Everyone recommends a different album. Revolver, White Album, Sgt. Pepper's, all of this. And you're like, this isn't helping whatsoever. This isn't helping. So as far as variation is concerned and the twists and turns in the catalogue, I suppose, yeah, it's all up for interpretation. And you need to invest into the act to really reap the rewards, I suppose. I'm signing out. Peace.